All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the channel. So, how's everybody doing out there? You know I was going to get back on here in time for this spring equinox. I want to show you what it looks like in Stellarium real quick so you can see that I got that grid up that shows the 0 hours and the 0 degrees. And you can see it's here in Pisces. Ain't that sweet? And it's the 18th right now. It's in the morning. And the first thing that's going to happen, we're going to get that mama new moon and that sun alignment I've been liking to take a look at every month. See here, you see the moon age, 29.1 days old. Go over here to the clock. Mama moon is going to be brand new, right on top of the papa sun. And then in a few more hours, you can look over here. You can see 23 hours. So he already hit the 0 0 on the grid, but the sun's calculation still gets to a 0 hour and 0 minute. See that? So that's on March 20th, around 7:30 p.m. We're gonna have the spring equinox. Pretty awesome. And it is in Pisces, according to Stellarium. Now I want to show you that map of the universe because we're getting pretty close to this Aquarius, but on the map of the universe, all of these signs are connected, starting with Capricorn, Aquarius, and the fish is swimming in this water. So let's take a look at that really quick. You can see that you got Aquarius laying over Capricorn. There's even another fish down here called Fomalhaut. That's very important. That's a part of this entire message right here. And you see how the fish are swimming into Aquarius's urn, dipping down, and coming back up. And look, even over here, we're going to read from Bullinger where he says this story here. Andromeda, the band of fishes, the multitude of the redeemed, and this Aquarian waters. It's beautiful what the information is. Now I can see he even connects it to the heavenly calling and the saints, and that this star here in Andromeda has the same name as this river of that the fish are swimming in. And I like on this map of the universe how the fish is actually coming down from the heavens. If you recall, on Stellarium, the fish is pointing upwards, but here it's coming down, hitting into the ram, Aries. So all of these constellations are connected, according to Bullinger too. And the name of this constellation is not Pisces. This river is called the Band, and in the Arabic it's Al Rish. So we're going to read about that, the cord, and very interesting how it seems like the fish are swimming into Aquarius's urn, right? And then coming back out. And that reminds me of like El Kush, the Kush, the in and out, the up and down, coming from on high, going back down, right? Hopefully you guys can see it. If you're not familiar with the stories in the Megillah, you may not understand about this holy call. Bullinger refers to it as a heavenly calling, and he connects the you know, uh patriarchs like Adam and Moses and Abraham being those of the heavenly calling, but we know about that drum. And even Abadel said that only those that are in the bliss of the heavenly realms can hear that call. And then the call is actually a question, and that is who will go. And then look at it, you go down That's the great sacrifice, right? In Aries. And then you swim along the ecliptic and help the multitudes of and then dunk in the El Kush back down to the earth and back up again. Man, this is beautiful. And so we're going to read about all these constellations, and I got a treat for you today because Bullinger got his information from someone and he talks about her. So that's where we're going to go first. Bullinger's book and then to her work. Her name is Frances Rollinston, I think. So let's get over there now. Okay, so here in the Witness of the Stars Bullinger has some good information, and I found this lady, and she has a book, and so Mazzaroth, and so we're going to read from that at the end. But he says here, some years ago, it was my privilege to enjoy the acquaintance of Miss Frances Rollinston of Kiswick, and to carry on a correspondence with her with respect to her work, Mazzaroth, or the constellations. She was the first to create an interest in the important subject. Since then, Dr. Joseph A. Seiss of Philadelphia has endeavored to popularize her work on the other side of the Atlantic, and brief references have been made to the subject in such books as Moses and Geology by Dr. Kins and In Primeval Man, but it was felt for many reasons that it was desirable to make another effort to set forth in a more complete form the witness of the stars to prophetic truth so necessary in these last days. Okay, so Bullinger's work is kind of like a recreation of this lady, Miss Frances Rollinston's work, and it's very exciting what she's done. He says, to the late Miss Rollinston, however, belongs the honor of collecting a mass of information bearing on this subject, but published as it was, chiefly in the form of notes, unarranged and unindexed, it was suited only for, but was most valuable to, the student. And you're going to see her work is amazing. I don't know what he means here about like unarranged, because it's really good what she's got. And he says it was she who performed the drudgery of collecting the facts presented by Albumazer, the Arab astronomer, to the caliphs of Granada in AD 50, and the tablets drawn up by Ughel Bey, the Tartar prince and astronomer, about AD 1450, who gives the Arabian astronomy as it had come down from the earliest times. Modern astronomers have preserved and still have in common use the ancient names of over 100 of the principal stars which have been handed down, but now these names are used merely as conveniences and without any reference to their significance. Bullinger says that his book here that we've been reading out, Witness of the Stars, is an attempt to popularize this ancient information and to use it in the interest of truth. He says, for the ancient astronomical facts and the names with their meanings, I am, from the very nature of the case, indebted, of course, to all who preserved, collected, and handed them down. But for their interpretation, he says, I am alone responsible. Okay, so in his book, he is given his own interpretation of a lot of these things. And that's why I say that I can see from the names the story in the Megillah as well. Even though Bullinger has given his interpretation, I'm kind of like getting my own too. And you'll see that Mrs. Frances Rollinston had her own as well. But he says it is the possession of that blessed hope of Christ's speedy return from heaven which gives true interest in the great subjects of this book. All right. And then, so this is just a preface. Now we're going to jump on over to Pisces and read the names of those stars. All right, so he says the sign Pisces, the fishes, the blessings of the redeemed in abeyance, or abeyance. I don't know if that's different than obey, but abeyance. He says in this third chapter of the second book, we come to the results of the Redeemer's work enjoyed, but in connection with conflict, as is seen in the last of the three sections, the constellation of Andromeda, the chained woman, which leads up to the last chapter of this book and ends in triumph over the enemy. The sign is pictured as two large fishes bound together by a band, the ends of which are fastened separately to their tails. One fish is represented with his head pointing upwards towards the North Pole star. The other is shown at right angles, swimming along the line of the ecliptic or path of the sun. The ancient Egyptian name, as shown in the Dendera Zodiac, is Pi-cot Orion or Pisces Hori, which means the fish of him that cometh. The Hebrew name is Dagam, the fishes, which is closely connected with multitudes, as in Genesis, where Jacob blesses Joseph's sons and says, "Let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth." He says in Genesis 48, the margin says, "Let them grow as fishes, do increase." And it refers to the fulfillment of Genesis 1 and 28. Be fruitful and multiply. It says the multitude of Abraham's seed is prominent in the pronouncement of the blessings, where God compares his future prosperity to the stars of the sky and the sand upon the seashore, a very great multitude of fish, as in Ezekiel 47 and 9. The Syriac name is Nuno, the fish lengthened out, as in prosperity. Wow, it explains that huge portion of the sky, right? Because there's a whole lot of fish we were looking at. It says the sign then speaks of the multitudes who should enjoy the blessings of the Redeemer's work. And he says here that there can be no doubt that we have in this sign the foreshowing of the multiplication and blessings of the children of promise, and a token of their coming deliverance from all the power of the enemy. But why two fishes? And why is one horizontal and the other perpendicular? The answer is that not only in Israel, but in the seed of Seth and Shem, there were always those who looked for a heavenly portion and were partakers of a heavenly calling. In Hebrews 11, we are distinctly told that Abraham looked for a city which had foundations, whose builder and maker is God. They were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Strangers are those without a home. This is talking about the El-Cushians, man. I'm telling you, the heavenly calling. Yeah, that's the holy call. I'm glad to see that it is recorded about this call in the King James as well. But they always are trying to make it refer and sound racist. And so that's why even those 12 tribes in the King James Version, how they all came from one man, is a part of the agenda too. Guys, just want to say that. What makes the difference is whether you've probably already been working for the Lord and the lady. It says they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Strangers are those without a home, and pilgrims are those who are journeying home. They seek a country. They desire a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. He says, it is clear, therefore, that what are called the Old Testament saints were partakers of the heavenly calling. And in Hebrews 3 and 1, he says it included a heavenly portion and a heavenly home. Sounds like El Cush, right? And through all the ages, there have been partakers of the heavenly calling. This is quite distinct from the calling of the church. which is from both Jew and Gentile, to form one body, a new man in Christ. That reminds me of the remnant, the ones that were trained, baptized by the Lord and the Lady, and sent out on that messianic mission back to their own religions that they had originally subscribed to share the teachings of the Lord and the Lady, that Yeshua was the Messiah. And it is recorded that those were the very first Nazarene, no, they were called Nazarian Christianity. And so, that just brings all of that to mind. But he goes on to say right here that the fish shooting upwards to the pole star exquisitely pictures this heavenly calling, while the other fish, keeping on the horizontal line, answers to those who were content with an earthly portion. Yeah, but both alike were divinely called and chosen and upheld because of the names of the two stars in the sign are Okta, in Hebrew that's the united, and Al-Samka, Arabic, the upheld. These again speak of the redeemed seed of whom and to whom Jehovah speaks in that coming day of glory in Isaiah 41:8. And there it is. He's got that. Behold thou, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend, thou whom I have taken hold of from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the corners thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant, I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God, who will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand, of my righteousness. Love that. Anyway, it says, this is the teaching of the sign, and the first constellation takes up this thought and emphasizes it. So this band here is the one I was showing you. It says that the means the redeemed bound, but binding their enemy. So the band that unites these two fishes has always formed a separate constellation. So that string you see on that fish in the stellarium is a completely separate constellation, they say, according to a lot of those ancient astronomers. That's this thing here. There's a star here called Al-Rish. There's a satellite over it right now. Probably knows I'm talking about it, trying to block my connection to it. But anyway, I won't be able to click on it, but I'll show you that this is just a separate constellation. And on that, it's pretty interesting, right? It was a river, it's not really a band, according to this. And this fish is coming down, remember? Okay, so let's go back to keep reading. So he says that the Arabian poems of ANTARAH frequently mentioned it as distinct from the sign with which it is so closely connected. ANTARAH was an Arabian poet of the 6th century. Its ancient Egyptian name was or, which means he cometh. Its Arabic name is Al-Risha, the band or bridle. It speaks of the coming one, not in relation to himself or his enemies, but in his relation to the redeemed, like who will be the hands and feet of the Lord and Lady. It says it speaks of him who says, I drew them with the cords of a man, with bands of love, and I was to them as they take off the yoke on their jaws. Wow, Hosea 11 and 4. But it speaks also of his unloosing the bands which they have been so long bound. Wow. And remember, they're connected to that beast, the sea monster. It says one end of the band is fastened securely around the tail of one fish, as it is the same with the other. Moreover, this band is fastened to the neck of Cetus, the sea monster. All right, and while immediately above is seen a woman chained as captive. And it says, these both tell the same story, and indeed are all required to set forth the whole truth. The fishes are bound to Cetus, the woman Andromeda is chained, but the deliverer of both is near. Okay, and that's where the third constellation, Cephas, the crowned king, the redeemer, the breaker, the branch, is seen coming quickly for the deliverance of his redeemed. These are the three constellations of this sign, and all three are required to set forth the story. All right, and I think that's all we're gonna read from Bullinger. It goes to break down Andromeda. But yes, pretty interesting, all these names and the fact that this is where the sun is right now, right? Telling you, it's better to be here and now in the present moment. And we're having the spring equinox. So now we're going to jump over to Francis really quick. All right, so it says that Miss Frances Rollingston of Keswick, born 1781, passed away in 1864, was a notable figure in the field of astronomy and astrology. Her work, Mazzaroth, or the constellations, was a significant contribution to the study of the stars and their significance in prophecy. Rollingston's correspondences with Dr. Joseph Seiss, who later popularized her work across the Atlantic, highlights her influences in disseminating ancient astronomical knowledge. Her letters, edited by Caroline Dent, provided a glimpse into her intellectual life and her correspondence with others, including E. D. C. Keswick, where she shared her views on various topics, including astrology and the moral implications of mesmerism. Rollingston's legacy continues through her writings and the ongoing interest in the witness of the stars to prophetic truth. Okay, so I found it, it's online, got it in Google Books, and this is so exciting. We're probably going to be reading a lot from this book for the rest of this year, y'all, because man, it's chock full of nuts. And if you remember in the if you're a Megillah reader, you know, and it's the scroll of Joseph. They talk about Beit Jalah's mother, and this was her initiatic name, Mazorat. And that in the Megillah it says it means all the scattered stars of the constellations. And so this is a beautiful connection, and I'm glad because I'm starting to understand about bringing forth the Mazaroth in his season, like talking about the solstice during the solstice. It's what we got to be doing, and receiving all of that information while the portals are open. I was supposed to make the video yesterday, and then I've been just skimming through her book. It is fire. And Bullinger got everything from here. I really haven't heard Bullinger say anything really different in all of the skimming I've been doing. And so let me just jump to a couple pages really quick because I know this video is long. She's got something on here on the Sibyls. I'm gonna make a video about that. She's got something on that southern fish in Aquarius, that Omaha. So I might jump there so we can just finish up this fish tale. And do you guys remember when we were reading about the Nazir priestess by Pierre Sabak, and he talked about Nazarani and it meant little fish? And so it's amazing, man, what we're seeing here in the sky and in these ancient writings and stuff. Uh, okay, so I gotta get to page 107. You gotta bear with me because I'm using this laptop and I'm not really good at controlling this mouse on here. So we might be skimming around for a while. Oh, look at all of this, guys. This is the contents of the second part. And I kind of scrolled right to where we needed to be. We can look at all of the signs and how she breaks them down. And since we're talking about Pisces, I wonder if she has something on the band. Oh, this is really good too. I read this, the galactic circle, and what it really means. She tore up the word Milky Way and was like, there's no reason why it should be called Milky. But the Greeks were into translating stuff from the way it sounded in their ear, in their language. So, what did I say we're going to look at? That southern fish and Aquarius. But I think that's in part 3. Let's just see here. You can go and read these two, and then we might just get out of here. I don't know. If I can find the southern fish, I will. So this is how her work is. Look, the water bearer pouring forth. I guess this is what he meant by it's in notes, but she has really good breakdowns underneath each one. And the Hebrew name for this Aquarius is Deli, the water urn. Um, Over here, it's got the Bible scriptures. This is prophecies, and then the text, and then even the Hebrew word. Arabic is Delu, the same. Syriac, the same. Coptic, Hupi, Tryon, the station of pouring out. So they look like, as up in El Kush, the pour forth of water, the rising up and pouring forth of water. Well, it has something. So that's the first deacon. This Piscis australis, the southern fish, drinking in the water from the urn. The Arabic name is Fomahalt, means the mouth of the fish. Just gonna jump down because I think they got a little bit of here on Al Rish. I was gonna go and show you that online, a little what I looked up, but this is that river, that band that those fish are swimming in, bridle. And the fishes, the multitudes upheld. Hebrew name Dagam, the fishes. Arabic Al-Halt, the fish. That's where that Fomahalt too has got the same name. So the Syriac is the Nuno, lengthened out as prosperity. Fishes or fish of him that cometh, multiplying. Then Al-Risha. I love it. That's actually where the sun is at when I'm born, is on the band. And that's what made me really start looking into all of this stuff because when I really learned that there was something to this astrology, I was like, wow, I got to find out exactly where the sun was at when I was born. And look, she's got a list of the lunar mansions of the moon. Man. And so we saw that the moon is here in Pisces during this um, spring equinox, and that station is Al Freg Al Mucha Dem. Much of them. Yeah, I'm loving this stuff. It says the prodigy from uh old. Yes, because I told you it's about, and then it says Al Freg and Al Mushabur, the prodigy of the latter times. Yes, the remnant. And then Al Risha is the band. Man, I guess this is young. Baby Christ. You know it's going to be a whole bunch. That's what the prophecy in the Megillah is that it's going to be a whole bunch of baby Christ birth for the first time here on this world before the harvest. So, yes, young indeed. You talk about eternity. But listen, this is like I said, she breaks down the Milky Way thing here, but she says that I like here North American Indians and even Greenlanders have given a more poetical meaning to this celestial arch of glimmering light. Instead of calling it the Milky Way, it was to them the path of the spirits of their ancestors ascending to their heavenly abodes. And in early Christian times, our forefathers called it Jacob's ladder, on which the patriarchs had beheld angels ascending and descending, as they will hereafter on a greater than Jacob. Why then should we cleave to this puerile heathen legend, equally incongruous with the nature and the aspect of that sublime wilderness of worlds? The names, not the appearances, having suggested the tale, for there is not the whiteness of milk in the dim effluences of those faint and far-off luminaries. Mm, mm, mm. We'll just finish this and get out of here. In such assemblages, such nebulae as this galactic circle to which our sun belongs, the Creator has congregated the heavenly bodies throughout the almost illimitable universe of stars. The arbitrary groupings which we call constellations exist not in nature, but in the imaginations of man. That's why the Maseratha said all the scattered stars of the constellation. Look at this chart. 12 signs, Sanskrit and Chinese, man. And the characters. Oh, man. So anyway, I'll be working on the next video. But there was more. I was looking for that southern fish. It had a big breakdown on Fomalhaut, but we'll get there one day. If you want to pause the video and read some of this stuff, you can, but I'm about to get up out of here now. This is on Google. I don't even know how I found it, but I found the link. I'll try to put it in the video description if I can. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Happy birthday, spring equinox. All right. Stay blessed and peace, love, and happiness.